There's one lure category that can be used to catch any game fish. Whether you're fishing from shore, in a kayak, or in a boat, these are relatively easy to use and they're incredibly effective. We're talking about swim baits. They come in a variety of different sizes, from tiny paddle tails for crappie, all the way up to big molded soft plastics for musky, pike, and everything in between. We have some great guests today to share their expertise in how to catch more and bigger fish with swim baits. This is Angling Buzz, brought to you by Omnia Fishing, a smarter tackle shopping experience. The great thing about swim baits is that they closely resemble the shape and action of bait fish. And I fished in California, where swim baits mean big baits. We're talking about these big custom molded soft plastic baits, as well as these hand-carved wooden baits. And we're going to focus on swim baits for this episode, the soft plastic side of things, which have really gained in popularity over the past decade. And numerous tackle manufacturers today, they make swim baits as well as jig heads and hook delivery systems to be used in combination. Our first guest today is Oliver Knight. He's a swim bait specialist and designer, and also owner of Big Bass Dreams. Oliver, thank you for taking some time out today. I know this time of year is very busy for you. How would you compare swim bait fishing here in the upper Midwest as to, say, the West Coast or even down in Texas?
Troy, excited to talk to you about big swim baits, glide baits, and other big lures in that genre. One of the misconceptions that I've heard time and time again over the years is that those big swim baits won't work on my water. And I've made a living since 2014 touring the country proving otherwise, especially the upper Midwest. The majority of the fish that I'm fooling and catching with a bait somewhere in this size is actually on average between 4 to 7 pounds. And the upper Midwest is chock full of fish in that caliber and potentially bigger. Now this is a terrible way to fish if you're looking to catch numbers of bass, but it is a fantastic technique and presentation if you're targeting the bass.
Get it! Oh my god, look at that thing! That might be your new PB.
Some of my fondest memories are traveling through the Midwest throwing a big bait. So do yourself a favor, tie one on, big baits, thick lines, heavy weights. Get out there, aim high, and dream big. Have fun.
Well, thanks, Oliver. I think that's some great advice for anglers at all levels. Our next guest is Jeff Gustafson, Gussie, who recently won the Bassmaster Classic.
Yeah, the Classic couldn't have went any better. Obviously highlighted my fishing career, and a lot of things collided, went my way. A month later, still really can't believe that it happened, but it's been fun, and you know, looking forward to getting on with the rest of the Elite Series season.
Jeff, you fish all over North America. You fish a lot of bass tournaments. How do you see swim baits factoring in to the bass world?
Swim baits. So, you know, on the Elite Series, 104 anglers. Probably every angler at just about every event has some sort of swim bait tied on, and you know, they're just the ultimate fish and minnow imitator. You know, all the bass and walleye and pike and predator fish that we chase eat minnows. So, you know, it's hard to beat swim baits. I carry a bunch of them in the boat with me. There's a good one. We'll throw swim baits on top. We'll throw shad imitators. You know, I've got a few down south right now, a few big ones that I throw around. I'm no expert with the big baits, but I've definitely put some nice fish in the boat that that have helped me out over the years. And then, you know, I use a lot of Z-Man stuff, the Elastec baits. They're very durable. You know, you can catch a lot of fish with them, and I carry a variety of sizes with me, and just basically so that I can, you know, imitate whatever size bait fish I feel like the bass are chewing on. You know, you gotta have different swim baits in the boat with you when you're competing, you know, all over the country, fishing all these different bodies of water.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and good luck the rest of the season on the tournament trail. Our next guest is Doug Wegner. He's a musky fishing guide, a YouTuber. He fishes in Canada and Wisconsin, catches a lot of big fish. Doug, what advice can you share with us in regards to musky fishing and swim baits?
All right, when it comes to muskies and swim baits, one thing I really try to do is just match the size of my lure to the forage base that my fish are feeding on. There's a lot of different varieties. Obviously, we've got more of our mid-range here, like a 10 or 11 inch swim bait. We've got our monster swimming dog here, a 16-inch profile, and then some smaller stuff here. in the 7 to 8 inch range. And basically, it's just depending on what the fish are feeding on is what I try and match the profile of my lure to. Now, some other things I really like to do are modifications are these small little magnets here. These are little musky innovations magnets you can screw in here, and it keeps your hook placement perfect every single time. For any of those fish that want to come and nip at the tail, those magnets are awesome. Another little mod are these Chaos deep threat weights I like to put on the front so I can get this bait to run a little bit deeper. And honestly, as well, you can also put, I love to put blades in front. These are just a small little Musky Frenzy dozer in front of here to add some vibration, some flash, and then also you'll get that nice tail kick here in the back as well. And this one, I actually put a little weight right on the nose itself to help get that bait down a little bit deeper. Straight retrieves are awesome when the water's warm, and then as the water cools down, I like to do a lot more pull pause stuff to get the baits down to the strike zone. Put a couple swim baits in your box, and I'll definitely catch you a few muskies.
Thanks, Doug, for your time, and good luck this season. Up next is our Timely Topics feature. We're talking more swim bait fishing, specifically for walleyes, with Joe Nelson.
There we go. You know, I'm on the river here, and no matter whether I'm fishing rivers or lakes, a swim bait is always a prime bait of choice. Nice sauger there. And it's always one of the best baits in the box because it's so versatile. There's a million different things that you can do with a swim bait. And that goes for whether you're getting the pre-rigged ones like the Mimic Minnows, or you're running something like an MVP jig with an impulse paddle tail. There's a lot of different ways that you can fish them, and that's what we're going to talk about today. You know, early in the season, if you're not fishing jigs and paddle tails, you're probably missing out on extra bites. And one of the reasons is water's high, things are a little bit dingy, you've got that paddle tail back there thumping away, creating not just visual enticement, but actual enticement through the fish's lateral line. They can feel that vibration. And there's a couple different ways you can fish these baits. You can see I'm kind of doing a stop, slow, pause, retrieve, letting that bait kind of wash down current. But there's another one that you can do especially that works really great in clear water situations, natural lakes, not just rivers like we're fishing here. You can also just cast the thing out, let it settle a little bit, get towards bottom or near bottom, simply reeling it and letting all that thump from the paddle tail do its job. That can really be a game-winning technique. In clear water scenarios, fish can come up, they can see it from a long ways away. It's amazing how well a simple, slow retrieve can work wonders. Another great technique is dragging these jigs, and it's a very common technique for where we're at right now. We're on the Mississippi River. Usually the bow mount's going, typically we just drop the rod along the side of the boat, settle on a jig head weight that allows you to get near bottom, and every once in a while you're contacting. As you're going upstream with the bow mount trolling motor, fish will trail in behind you, and every once in a while you give it a little pop, you give it a little bit of enticement. That's all it takes for those fish to kind of come unglued, come up, overtake the bait. Other days, simply dragging it and holding the rod dead can produce just dividends. So there you have it. There's a lot of different ways to fish a swim bait, but no matter which way you're fishing it, the enticement's there visually, it's there from a vibration standpoint, and the key is really getting the jig in the fish's face. You do that with the jig and paddle tail combination, you're gonna have a hard time not getting bit for walleyes in all waters, rivers, natural lakes, and everything in between.
And now it's time for a highlight destination feature. We're going to explore Alexandria, Minnesota.
Welcome to Alexandria, Minnesota, a destination for those seeking adventure, relaxation, and the great outdoors. Nestled in the heart of the land of 10,000 lakes, Alexandria is a haven for fishing enthusiasts. With over 350 lakes in the area, Alexandria is a paradise for fishing enthusiasts. From walleye to bass, northern pike to crappies, the waters of Alexandria are teeming with a wide variety of fish. But fishing isn't the only outdoor activity on offer in Alexandria. The area's lakes and rivers are a perfect place for kayaking, canoeing, and paddleboarding. You can explore the lake at your own pace, taking in the natural beauty and wildlife that surrounds you. For golf enthusiasts, Alexandria offers several world-class golf courses, perfect for a relaxing round with family or friends. The historic downtown area is full of unique shops and restaurants that'll keep the whole family entertained. Take a stroll down Broadway and check out the local artisans and craftsmen, or grab a bite to eat at one of the many locally owned restaurants. Make sure to visit the famous Runestone Museum, where the whole family can learn about the Vikings who settled in our area over 1,000 years ago, and see the mysterious Kensington Runestone. For some family fun, visit our Big Ole Central Park, where you can take a picture with Big Ole, a 28-foot Viking statue, the town's mascot. If you're looking for some educational experiences, visit the Legacy of Lakes Museum, which showcases the history of boating and fishing in our area. You can also visit the Carlos Creek Winery, where the family can taste some of our locally made wines and learn about the history of winemaking in Minnesota. Finally, if you're looking to escape into nature, visit our state parks. Lake Carlos State Park offers miles of hiking trails and a pristine beach, while the Glacier Lake State Park offers stunning views of rolling prairies, oak savannas, and sparkling lakes. Alexandria, Minnesota is truly a destination for everyone. Whether you're an avid fisherman, a nature lover, or simply seeking a bit of tranquility, Alexandria has something for you. Come and explore this hidden gem in the land of 10,000 lakes and experience the beauty of the great outdoors like never before. It's time for this week's BuzzBite Reports. To kick it off, we're going to head to North Dakota with Johnny Candle.
The walleye bite is absolutely fantastic, especially if you enjoy casting to shallow water. Jigs tipped with soft plastics, shallow diving crankbaits are getting the job done. And there's actually an incredible hair jig bite going on right now. It's really simple. Try to find water above 60 degrees, and if there's any wind at all, use it to your advantage. The fish are definitely frequently using the shallow wind-blown shorelines in Devil's Lake. Northern pike are mixed in with the walleye. Nothing really big there. We've had one 15-pounder this week in my boat, and the white bass is the best kept secret around. And actually, if you know anything about Devil's Lake, it's not a secret. Find moving water, typically near a bridge. Cast jigs and plastics or small crankbaits, you're gonna have yourself a blast. This is gonna last a couple weeks. There are a few bug hatches going on, so be ready and keep your drinks covered up when you're in the boat. But get over here to Devil's Lake and enjoy what we've got to offer.
Thanks, Johnny. Now let's head to the Alexandria area in Minnesota with Joe Segura.
Hello, Joe Segura here with your Alexandria Fishing Report. Fishing remains excellent in the area. Really doesn't matter on the species, whether you're after walleye, panfish, bass, northern. They all seem to be producing quite well this week. A lot of the bigger walleyes are starting to show up after the spawn here. Last week we were in very shallow water, 3 to 6 foot pitching minnows. This week we're out into that new weed growth in maybe 12 to 20 foot of water, anywhere there's those new weeds growing. Using leeches, crawlers, been doing really well. If you got minnows, they're still working as well. I'll be using minnows maybe for another week or two, but then transition completely over to leeches and crawlers. As far as panfish go, they are getting ready for the spawn, so you're seeing them up in the real shallow area, pencil weeds, as well as out over 10 foot, 15 foot of water. You're gonna find them as well. Those fish do spawn in all those areas, so don't just think they go shallow. They will be very, very concentrated though in all those different depth of ranges. So keep on your locator, keep moving. If you're not on the fish, they are very concentrated this time of year, and the fishing's excellent.
Thanks, Joe. Now let's head north to Leech Lake with Toby Cavalivog.
Here's the deal, the water temps are varying right now. We had a cold day, it cooled the water temps down. The fishing got a little bit tougher here on Leech Lake, but then it warmed up. And now we find fish in anywhere from 58 to 65 degree water temperatures. They're still eating jigs and shiners on the sand flats, around rock piles, in some weeds. Seems like the sunny days, the weeds are a little bit better. 6 pound line, getting it far away from the boat's real important. Snap jigging it, but still kind of a drag is more efficient than actually popping the jig, it seems like. But Lindy rigs this week certainly have been fantastic. Night crawlers and leeches both, as well as some bigger minnows, but that's the report. Leech Lake is going real well. Crappies are still being caught. Perch are starting to slow down as they're spawning, but jumbo perch, crappies, and walleyes.
Thanks, Toby. Now let's head a little further north to Lake Vermilion with Billy Rosner.
With the warmer water temps, the bass are starting to move into spawn, both the large and smallmouth. The walleye bite's been holding strong. We're getting to that time of the year with the water temperatures. The walleyes are kind of on the move. They're going to be transitioning out to some of the reefs and rock piles in the main lake structure. Live bait rigs, don't forget your leeches now, and your crawlers too. They're all putting out fish. Jigging wraps, hair jigs, that's all starting to put out fish too. And for the walleyes, just think transitions, rock to mud, sand to mud, that sort of thing. And depths are kind of all over the place depending what part of Vermilion you're fishing. And if you're after some northern pike, some good action fishing, finding those back in the weed beds, 4 to 8 feet, your soft fertile bays, throwing some spinner baits, weedless spoons, inline bucktails like blue fox or a meps will give you some good pike action.
Thanks, Billy. Now let's jump over to Michigan with Captain Chad Diltz.
We've been experiencing some much warmer temperatures here in northern Michigan and in southern Michigan. Northern Michigan, we've been seeing a lot of days in like the upper 70s, and in southern Michigan, they're seeing even some 90-degree temperatures. A lot of the walleye are finishing up the spawn, moving back out into Lake Erie and Lake St. Clair, but they're still doing good in the Detroit River. A lot of our inland lake walleyes in northern Michigan have moved into that 20 to 40 foot range. Guys are getting them good on jigs and harnesses, and of course they're moving in shallow at night. Our smallmouth are starting to approach the beds. If you are going to target smallmouth on beds, please remember, take a picture, get them back as quick as you can. On the Great Lakes, the thermocline's starting to establish and guys are starting to get those trout and salmon down 50 to 60 feet. It's a great time to get out and take advantage of a lot of different species. If you're looking for a captain or guide in the state of Michigan, look us up at sportfishmichigan.com.
And now it's time for our cool products brought to you by Omnia Fishing. We're going to start off with the Spawn sunglasses from Wavy Label. These feature a polycarbonate lens. This is the blue lens. They also have a gray lens. This is great for both eye protection as well as, well, sight fishing, which is a favorite of anglers pretty much all season, but especially in the summertime in open water. And also these have a lifetime warranty. They come with a nice case. Very, very comfortable to wear. The Spawn sunglasses from Wavy Label. And next from Northland Tackle, a great jig, the Mimic jig. This is designed for swim baits, and they come in a few different sizes here. And sizes like this, the 1/4 ounce, this is great for slow rolling. You can also use this for walleye, snap jigging for walleye, slow rolling swim baits for smallmouth, largemouth bass. A 1/4 ounce like this would be great on spinning rods. And then a bigger size like this, a 1/2 ounce, this would be something you throw on a bait caster, you know, for bigger largemouth bass if you're fishing around even kind of sparse weeds or around maybe brush or timber. They also feature a nice bait keeper to keep the swim baits locked in place on the jig, like that, the Mimic swim jig from Northland Tackle. And next from Blackfish Gear, the Angler UPF long sleeve. This is a very comfortable shirt, especially in the heat and humidity of the upper Midwest. You have these little pockets here to help wick away moisture and heat. The Cool Charge is a chemical-free cooling technology. You know, after fishing all day, this is very comfortable because of these little pockets on here, because it has less contact with your skin. It's very, very comfortable. UPF rating of 30. In fact, the whole Blackfish line is incredible. This one is really nice, the Angler long sleeve UPF. And next, Seafoam Motor Treatment Truck and SUV. This is a larger can for bigger tanks. This helps stabilize fuel for up to 2 years. It's very easy to use. You just pour it right in your tank. Add 1 ounce per gallon of fuel. This helps maximize horsepower and performance of your engine. Seafoam Motor Treatment Truck and SUV. And from St. Croix Rods, this is their swimming baits spinning rod. St. Croix offers a lot of different technique-specific rods, and this one, well, it's perfect for swim baits. This is a 7-foot, 10-inch, medium power, moderate fast action. So you have a lot of backbone in this rod, as well as a sensitivity through the middle to end of the rod, which is perfect for swim bait fishing. St. Croix quality, especially in their Legend Tournament Bass Series. This is the 7-foot, 10-inch, medium, moderate, fast action swimming baits model. And you can shop online anytime at omniafishing.com. And up next, it's our Technique of the Week.
Technique that Troy and I got on this this particular point to what we've been doing is jig trolling. And this is just a 1/2 ounce VMC Moon Eye jig with a 3.5 big bite suicide shad on it.
Oh, I didn't have the handle out. I should have. That clam extend handle. It's a little better one. All right.
The presentations are really sort of dynamically different because we're not casting the bait out and jigging it back.
Nailed that.
What we're doing is I'm getting on the trolling motor and I'm running at about 0.5 to 0.8 miles an hour, and we just take the baits and throw them in back of the boat. And you want to let out just about enough line so the bait is close to the bottom or intermittently hitting the bottom. A lot of times what I like to do is to hit the bottom, then I reel it up a little bit so the bait is running like 2 or 3 feet off the bottom. And that tail's going like this, doop, 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 doop. And it's a fabulous technique in the fact that you can actually cover quite a bit of water.
That works.
I've caught a lot of big fish on these lakes at different points in times with this presentation.
Back you go. As you can see, there's a lot of different ways to fish a simple swim bait and jig. The products featured in today's video are linked below in the description. And also be sure to enter our sweepstakes. There's a link below in the description as well. You can win an awesome weekend up on Lake Vermilion. That's a big fish factory, all expenses paid, a guided fishing trip with myself, as well as a hand-selected tackle pack from Omnia Fishing. And if you have any comments about today's episode, let us know down below. And here's another video from AnglingBuzz.